Before you scroll, before you assume this is just another heartbreak video, stay with me for a few minutes. Because what I'm about to say might completely change the way you see rejection, loneliness, and even yourself. If Valentine left you feeling empty, if your phone feels heavier than usual, if your chest tightens every time you think about what happened, don't click away. This is not going to be soft advice. This is not going to be time heals everything. This is not going to be comfort. This is going to be clarity. By the end of this video, you will either continue being controlled by what happened, or you will understand why this moment could become the most powerful turning point of your life. Most people never hear the truth about heartbreak. They hear sympathy, they hear cliches, they hear emotional noise. But nobody explains why the pain feels so intense, why loneliness feels like a threat, and why this exact moment is a rare opportunity that most people waste. Tonight, you're going to see what others don't. You're going to understand why losing someone can actually reveal your hidden weaknesses, why dependency disguises itself as love, why isolation can become a weapon, and why the person who walked away might have unintentionally done you the biggest favor of your life. This is not about them anymore. This is about you. And if you stay until the end, you won't just feel motivated, you'll feel awakened. Let's go deeper into this idea that loneliness is not a loss but an upgrade. When Valentine left you lonely, what actually happened? A person exited your life. That's it. No cosmic event. No collapse of the universe. Just one human being making a decision. But internally it felt like an earthquake. Why? Because the structure you built your emotional world on was not self-sustaining. It was dependent. Most people don't build identity. They attach it. They attach it to relationships, to attention, to messages that say, "Good morning," to someone asking how their day was. And when that attachment disappears, they confuse the absence of validation with the absence of worth. That's a critical mistake. Loneliness is not the evidence that you are unlovable. It is the evidence that you are leaning. Think about it from a systems perspective. If removing one external variable destabilizes your entire emotional system, then the system was fragile by design. Strong systems are resilient, they absorb shocks. Weak systems collapse. So when someone walks away and you feel like you've lost yourself, what you actually lost was a borrowed sense of identity. That's not tragedy, that's exposure. Exposure is uncomfortable. It strips you down to the raw version of yourself. No compliments, no reassurance, no distraction, just you. And for many people, that silence is terrifying. Because when the noise stops, they are forced to confront the question they've been avoiding. Who am I when no one is watching? Valentine didn't create your loneliness. Before, you were busy, texting, planning, hoping. Now you're alone with your thoughts. And instead of seeing that as punishment, you need to recognize it as clarity. You are finally meeting the unfiltered version of yourself. This is where growth begins. Psychologically, pain functions as feedback. It's not random, it's information. When you feel rejected, your brain interprets it as a threat to belonging. Belonging has evolutionary roots. For thousands of years, being excluded from the tribe meant death. So your emotional response is intense. You are not being cast out of survival. You are being given an opportunity to evolve independently. Philosophically, loneliness is one of the most powerful states a human being can experience, because it forces self-confrontation. When you are alone, you cannot outsource responsibility. You cannot blame someone else for your mood. You cannot rely on someone else's presence to stabilize your emotions. You either build internal strength or you sit in discomfort. Most people escape. They download dating apps, they text old contacts, they fill the silence immediately. Not because they found love, but because they cannot tolerate emptiness. But emptiness is not your enemy. Emptiness is space. And space is required for construction. You cannot build on a crowded foundation. Right now, your loneliness is empty land. It feels barren. It feels cold. But it is available. Available for discipline. Available for self-respect. The question is not why someone left. The question is what you will build in the space they left behind. Upgrades require disruption. No device upgrades without restarting. No system improves without temporary instability. When your relationship ended, your emotional operating system was forced to shut down outdated code. Dependency. Over-attachment. Fear of being alone. These are not strengths, they are vulnerabilities disguised as romance. This is your chance to rewrite your code. Intellectually, you must separate emotion from identity. You are experiencing loneliness. You are not loneliness. Those are different statements. One describes a temporary state. The other becomes a permanent label. Do not confuse the two. You feel alone today. That does not define your value tomorrow. Authority over your life begins the moment you stop interpreting every emotional fluctuation as a verdict on your worth. Feelings are signals, not conclusions. They indicate something needs attention. They do not dictate your destiny. So instead of asking, "Why did they leave me?" ask a more powerful question. Why did I build a life where one person leaving could destabilize me? That question is uncomfortable. It removes blame. It returns responsibility. But responsibility is power. Because if you built dependency once, you can build independence now. Loneliness is training. When you learn to sit with yourself without panic, without reaching for distraction, without needing constant reassurance, you develop psychological endurance. And endurance is rare. People who can operate alone, think alone, build alone, those people are dangerous in the best way. They are not manipulated easily. They are not shaken by temporary absence. They are stable. And stability is attractive, not just romantically, professionally, socially, energetically. People gravitate toward those who are not desperate for connection. So what feels like loss is actually preparation. Preparation for a stronger identity. Preparation for higher standards. Preparation for a relationship in the future that is built on alignment, not fear of being alone. You were not broken by Valentine. You were awakened. And awakening hurts. Because illusions dissolve. The illusion that someone else completes you. The illusion that attention equals love. The illusion that being chosen defines your value. No one completes you. You are not half. You are whole. A relationship should be collaboration between two whole individuals, not a rescue mission between two incomplete ones. If you use this period correctly, you will look back and realize this was the most important phase of your development. The silence will sharpen your thoughts. The absence will strengthen your independence. The discomfort will build resilience. But only if you face it. Do not romanticize suffering, but do not waste it either. Loneliness is neutral. It becomes destructive only when you interpret it as rejection instead of redirection. Redirection toward self-mastery, toward internal validation, toward building a life that does not collapse when someone exits. Right now you have a choice. You can chase distraction and repeat the cycle, or you can sit in the quiet and construct a stronger self. One path leads to temporary comfort. The other leads to transformation. Understand this clearly. You are not being abandoned. You are being introduced to your own strength. And if you can learn to stand comfortably in your own presence, without craving applause, without needing constant affirmation, you become unstoppable. Because a person who is not afraid to be alone is never controlled by the fear of loss. So don't see this as the day Valentine left you lonely. See it as the day you were forced to meet yourself. And the version of you that emerges from that meeting will determine everything that comes next. Build that version wisely. Now let's move into something even more uncomfortable. You did not just feel lonely. You outsourced your happiness. That is the real issue. When someone becomes the primary source of your emotional stability, you have transferred ownership of your internal world to an external variable. That is not love. That is dependency with poetic language wrapped around it. Think about it logically. If your mood improves only when they text you, if your confidence rises only when they compliment you, if your peace exists only when they are present, then your emotional state is no longer self-generated. It is externally controlled, and anything externally controlled can be externally removed. That is a dangerous design. Most people never question this design, because it feels good in the beginning. Attention feels like value. Validation feels like worth. Being chosen feels like achievement. But psychologically, what is happening is subtle conditioning. Your brain starts associating another person with reward. Dopamine spikes when they respond. Anxiety increases when they do not. Over time, you confuse attachment with identity. You start saying things like, "They make me happy." That sounds romantic, but analyze it carefully. If someone makes you happy, then someone else can make you unhappy. That means your emotional system is reactive, not sovereign. Sovereignty is the goal. Happiness should be internally engineered, not externally supplied. A relationship should amplify your state, not create it. If you enter a partnership empty, expecting the other person to fill you, you are placing a burden on them that no human can sustainably carry. This is why so many relationships collapse under pressure. Two people looking to be completed instead of two complete individuals choosing collaboration. Let me make this clear. Wanting companionship is natural. Desiring connection is human. But needing someone in order to feel worthy is a structural weakness. And structural weaknesses reveal themselves under stress. When Valentine ended and you felt shattered, that feeling was not proof of love. It was proof of emotional outsourcing. You invested all your joy, all your motivation, all your daily excitement into one person. You gave them the master key to your self-esteem. And when they left, they took the key with them. But here is the reality. They never owned that key. You handed it over. Psychologically, this pattern often begins long before the relationship. Many people grow up equating approval with safety. Praise equals love, attention equals acceptance. So when someone gives them focused affection, it triggers deep validation circuits. It feels powerful. It feels necessary. But necessity is not the same as compatibility. You are not just loving them. You are using them to stabilize yourself. That may sound harsh, but intellectual honesty is required for growth. If your entire day collapses because one person is distant, it means your life structure is too narrow. You need multiple pillars: purpose, skill development, physical health, intellectual growth, meaningful friendships, creative outlets. When your life is multidimensional, no single loss can destroy you. When your life revolves around one person, their absence creates a vacuum. That vacuum feels like emptiness, but it is actually imbalance being exposed. Philosophically, this comes down to identity. Who are you independent of relationships? Not as someone's partner, not as someone's favorite person, not as someone's emotional support system. Who are you in isolation? If you struggle to answer that question, then the work begins there. Identity must be self-constructed. It cannot be borrowed through proximity to someone else. Standing next to someone successful does not make you successful. Standing next to someone confident does not make you confident. And standing next to someone loving does not automatically make you whole. You must develop internal assets: emotional regulation, self-respect, vision. When these are strong, love becomes a choice, not a need. There is a major difference between "I want you" and "I cannot function without you." The first is strength. The second is fear. And fear-based attachment leads to compromise. You tolerate disrespect because you are afraid of being alone. You ignore red flags because losing them feels worse than losing yourself. You shrink your personality to maintain connection. That is not romance. That is self-abandonment. Stop outsourcing your happiness. Design your life so that joy is a byproduct of progress, not proximity. Wake up with a mission. Build skills that increase your competence. Train your body so your mind becomes sharper. Read so your thinking becomes deeper. Create so your identity expands. When your life is rich with direction, a relationship becomes an enhancement. If it ends, it hurts, but it does not erase you. Right now, the reason this lesson feels intense is because the dependency was real. But dependency is not destiny, it is a habit. And habits can be re-engineered. Start small. Spend time alone without reaching for distraction. Develop one skill that improves your confidence. Set goals that have nothing to do with romance. Build something tangible. Earn something measurable. Achieve something that no one can take from you by simply walking away. Competence builds confidence. And confidence reduces emotional dependency. This is not about becoming cold or detached. It is about becoming stable. Stability is powerful. When you know you can generate your own happiness, you stop begging for it. When you know you can stand alone, you stop tolerating treatment that undermines you. And ironically, when you no longer need validation, you attract healthier connections. Because people are drawn to those who are grounded, not grasping. Imagine a version of you who wakes up excited about their mission, who values their time, who chooses partners based on alignment, not loneliness, who can love deeply but walk away calmly if respect disappears. That version is not built in a relationship, it is built in solitude and self-work. Stop expecting another human being to carry your emotional weight. They have their own. Become self-sufficient emotionally, not isolated, not distant, but internally secure. Love should be shared energy between two strong individuals, not life support between two fragile ones. If you rebuild your happiness internally, no one can steal it. If you anchor your identity in growth, no rejection can define you. So do not rush to replace who left. Replace the mindset that made you believe you needed them to feel whole. Because the moment you stop outsourcing your happiness is the moment you reclaim control of your life. And a person who controls their own emotional state is never at the mercy of someone else's decision. Build your joy internally. Then let love be a choice, not a requirement. Now we arrive at the most important part. Turning heartbreak into power. This is where most people fail. Not because they are weak, but because they misunderstand pain. They see heartbreak as damage instead of fuel. They see rejection as proof of inadequacy instead of redirection toward evolution. Pain is energy. And energy does not disappear, it transforms. When Valentine ended and you felt that pressure in your chest, that heaviness in your thoughts, that constant replay in your mind, that was raw energy. Emotional energy. Most people waste it. They convert it into self-pity, into stalking social media, into late-night overthinking. They burn the fuel without moving forward. But the same energy redirected becomes acceleration. Look at it from a performance perspective. The human mind under emotional stress becomes hyper-focused. You think more. You analyze more. You feel intensely. That intensity can either spiral inward destructively or channel outward constructively. The difference is intention. Instead of asking, "Why did this happen to me?" ask, "How can I use this?" That question alone shifts you from victim to architect. Heartbreak strips illusions. It forces clarity. You see patterns you ignored. You recognize compromises you made. You confront insecurities you avoided. That clarity is painful, but it is valuable. It gives you data. And data is power. Most people repeat relationship cycles because they process emotionally but not intellectually. They feel hurt, then they seek comfort, then they repeat the same dynamic with a new face. Nothing changes. Growth requires analysis. What were your weaknesses? Where did you overextend? Where did you abandon your standards? Where did you become dependent? Where did you ignore red flags because you feared losing connection? These questions are not for self-blame. They are for optimization. High performers optimize. They review failures. They study breakdowns. They refine strategy. Relationships are no different. If something ended, there were structural flaws. Identify them. Fix them. Upgrade yourself so the next level requires a different version of you. This is how heartbreak becomes horsepower. Emotion is powerful because it disrupts complacency. When you are comfortable, you rarely change. When you are hurt, you are forced to move. The discomfort becomes unbearable. That is momentum waiting to be directed. Channel it into discipline. Wake up earlier. Train harder. Study longer. Build something that demands your focus. Not to distract yourself from pain, but to transmute it. Every time your mind drifts toward regret, redirect it toward creation. Every time you feel the urge to check their profile, pick up a book. Every time loneliness hits, use it as a trigger to improve one measurable area of your life. This is not suppression, it is transformation. Psychologically, this builds resilience. When you teach your brain that pain equals progress instead of pain equals paralysis, you rewire your response system. You become adaptive, and adaptability is strength. Isolation during heartbreak is not weakness. It is incubation. Some of the strongest versions of people are built in silence. No applause, no recognition, no validation. Just daily effort fueled by something deeper than motivation. Motivation fluctuates. Discipline remains. You do not need to feel inspired to improve. You need to decide. Right now, your ego is bruised. Your expectations collapsed, your future plans disrupted. Good, that means the old blueprint is gone. You can design a new one without emotional compromise. Imagine this period as a recalibration phase. You are redefining standards. You are rebuilding identity. You are increasing your competence. When you focus on growth, something interesting happens. Your self-respect increases. And when self-respect increases, your tolerance for mediocrity decreases. You stop chasing. You start selecting. Heartbreak forces you to confront scarcity thinking. You believed that person was your only chance at connection. That belief created fear. Fear created attachment. Attachment created dependency. Now the illusion is gone. Abundance is a mindset built through self-development. The more capable you become, the more options you have, socially, professionally, emotionally. When you invest in your growth, your world expands. You are not trying to prove something to the person who left. That is small thinking. You are building for yourself. If they see your transformation one day, that is irrelevant. The real reward is internal. You wake up stronger. You think clearer. You operate from confidence instead of insecurity. That is power. Power is not dominance over others. It is mastery over yourself. It is the ability to remain stable when circumstances change. It is the refusal to let temporary rejection define permanent identity. And understand this clearly. The goal is not revenge success. The goal is evolution. If your motivation is to make someone regret leaving, your growth will be fragile. It will depend on their reaction. But if your motivation is self-mastery, your growth becomes permanent. Use the silence to sharpen your vision. What do you actually want in a partner? What values matter? What standards will you never compromise again? Clarity eliminates desperation. Desperation leads to poor decisions. Clarity leads to strategic ones. The world respects those who can convert adversity into advancement, not because adversity is glamorous, but because transformation requires courage. Right now, you are at a decision point. You can shrink, replay memories, question your worth. Or you can rise, reflect deeply, and reconstruct yourself intentionally. 5 years from now, this moment will either be a memory of weakness or the origin story of your strength. That depends on what you do next. Do not waste this pain. It is expensive. It costs you sleep. It costs you tears. It costs you emotional stability. Make sure it pays you back in growth. Turn heartbreak into discipline. Turn rejection into refinement. Turn loneliness into leadership over your own life. Because when you learn to convert emotional pain into productive power, nothing can permanently stop you. And remember this, the version of you that emerges from this heartbreak will determine the quality of everything that follows. So build a version that no rejection can shake and no absence can weaken. Pain is inevitable. Power is optional. Choose power.